I'm Stephanie Broadhurst. I'm the Enrollment Management Coordinator at Sacred Heart here in Montreal. And I'm here with my colleague, Amanda. So introduce yourself.
I guess my name's Amanda. I just started at Sacred Heart this August. I work with Stephanie in the admissions office.
Tara is a past student, a former student, a parent, as well as she's on our alumni board. So Tara.
Hi.
Jennifer Newton is a former student from class of, I'm going to get this wrong, 06, I believe.
Correct.
Oh, good job. I always confuse it if it's 2004, 2006. So she's one of our former students from class of 2006, as well. She's one of our phys ed teachers, so she could talk about our program and our athletics and any sort of extracurriculars and community service that has been done in the school. And then we have Kennedy Lane from class of 2016. So a recent graduate who's now in university, and she'll be able to explain her recent experience at Sacred Heart and what she's pursuing now. So I thought that we could start with a virtual tour of the school since we can't meet in person. So I will share my screen with you. And then we can go over some of the questions and whatnot.
And it's great to meet you all.
Can you hear now?
Even if we can't. Yeah. This year, it's a little different than most. So instead of meeting you physically at the school, we've decided to bring the school to you with this virtual tour. Though some of our spaces have been creatively repurposed to ensure students, faculty, and staff safety during the pandemic, we will make sure that our student guides let you know what all the rooms are usually used for. Right now, we're standing in the portrait. This is the main entrance of the Sacred Heart, and it's located at the corner of Atwater and Dr. Penfield Boulevards. This entrance actually leads right on to the 3rd floor, and we have 5 floors in all. The school is shaped like a W, with administrative offices and the boarding school located on the west wing and classrooms in the east. The middle branch is taken up by our beautiful chapel right in the heart of the school. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll let our students take it from here. Our students are our best ambassadors, and they are also our greatest tour guides. I will let them take you now on the tour. Enjoy, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm Yasmina, and I'm Runner, and welcome to the Sacred Heart. Today, we're going to be giving you a quick tour around the school. Let's get started.
When you come in from the portrait, the first thing you see is the chapel. It was completed in 1928, and while it's currently being used as an extra classroom space, usually the whole school gathers in it 8 to 10 times a year for full school masses. It's also used for special school traditions like the secondary 5-pin ceremony, where alumni welcome the graduating class into the Sacred Heart Network and Founders Day Masses, celebrating our foundress, St. Madeline Sophie Mass.
Our full school masses celebrate holidays like Christmas or Easter, as well as honoring the sisters that our houses are named after. You heard right, every student gets placed into a house just like in Harry Potter. Let's head down the hall to take a look. Our Sacred Heart has 8 houses that meet regularly for house meetings throughout the year.
Those 8 houses are Barra, Digby, Duchesne, DeRuzier,
Hardy, Sheldon, Stewart, and Trincano.
Now, let's head to the library to speak with Ms. Harrison.
Hi, I'm Joan Harrison. I'm a librarian here at Sacred Heart. I am a professional librarian with a Master of Library and Information Studies degree, but I'm also a computer geek, so I help students with books and reference, but also with their Chromebooks and any issues they have with Google Apps for Education. They normally would come to the reference library for help, but right now it's being served by email and in person through appointments. Normally we'll meet in the client library where they can look for books, and they can also look for books virtually online.
Welcome to the study hall. Students from Sec 1 to 4 usually have desks here, where we keep any books that we aren't taking to class. And it's often used as a gathering place for the whole school, like when general assemblies are held.
This year, the study hall desks don't belong to any students because it's being used as an extra classroom space. So the desks are spaced 2 meters apart to ensure distancing.
let us lead you up to the 4th floor. Most of our classrooms are on this floor and the 5th floor. Here you'll see what a few of them look like.
Our classrooms look so different from each other because usually each teacher has their own. This year, our teachers are taking even more advantage of their Google Classrooms, posting materials that we can use our school-issued Chromebooks to follow along.
The boarding area is at the end of the 4th floor hallway. Let's see it now.
Hi, I'm Mary, and I live in residence here at Sacred Heart. This is the student lounge where boarding students can relax after school. I'll be taking you on a quick tour through the residence area. Down this hallway, we have both single rooms and double rooms. Though this year, each student has a private room to maintain physical distance. We also have a solarium, a common sitting room, and finally a fully stocked kitchen that we can all use. Hope you enjoyed your tour through the residence.
Down on the 1st floor are our science labs. We often do real lab work like dissections and experiments, as well as hosting an annual science week to show off our project.
Aside from the science labs, the 1st floor also has the robotics room. Robotics is offered as an elective here at Sacred Heart, and we work with Loyola High School every year as the Northern Knights to build a robot for international competition.
And further down on the 1st floor, we have the gym. Named after former headmistress, Mother Margaret Johnson, this gym was built in the 1990s to better accommodate the many sports that we play.
This gym isn't only a perfect space for our phys ed classes, it's also where our school sports teams practice various sports year-round in 3 separate sporting terms. The Saints play every sport, from basketball to volleyball to soccer to hockey, with the guidance of our great gym teachers and coaches. We've won our fair share of tournaments, as you can see.
With the help of people like our personal counselor, Ms. Boyard, and our academic advisor, Ms. Tula, we always know that we have someone to turn to for any question, whether it be academic or personal.
Here on the 2nd floor, photos of each year's graduating class hang on the walls, helping us to remember and honor our history, as well as keeping us connected to our alumni.
On this same floor, we've also committed to an investment in future Sacred Heart students with the construction of our brand new auditorium.
The arts is super important to Sacred Heart. That's why you have access to a multimedia studio complete with a green screen, so you can learn to make videos. Our art room on the 5th floor is always busy with students coming in and out for art club or preparing pieces for our yearly arts festival. After school, the hospital is music when a junior and a concert band practice for upcoming concerts. This passion and love for the arts is why we wanted a place where they could be celebrated. And so our auditorium was created. School traditions like annual Christmas play, Christmas wishes, Dasha Bustak, our Teacher Appreciation Week talent show, named for the initials of our 8 houses, and concerts from our concert band and show choir will all take place here. We're so excited to be able to use and enjoy our new space, safely of course. Thank you for joining us on our virtual tour. We hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Sacred Heart. We can't wait for you to join our Sacred Heart family. Thanks for watching.
I'll say hi to everybody. My name's Nancy, and I have 2 girls. One's in grade 5 at Roslyn and one's in grade 4. So we're kind of planning ahead, but we're trying to figure out a little bit what path we'd like the girls to have. I'll say also a hello to Jennifer, who I met many, many, many years ago. Your mom and my family go way, way back at the cottage. So I'm a Hutchison from Balmoral.
Oh, of course.
So
that's so
I'm
cool.
happy to see you. Your mom had told me you were working at the school. Anyway, so that's super fun that you're on tonight. Yeah. So some of the questions I have, and I'm going to throw out the big ones because I want to hear it in your words. We're obviously looking at, ECS, TRAF, the study, you guys, the villa. Obviously you're not co-ed, so the villa's a little bit different. But what do you think is the thing that makes Sacred Heart stand out different, to be noticeable and more attractive to a parent and to high energy kids?
Well, I think the best suited on the call is a recent graduate, is Kennedy. She can explain hers. And then also Tara, as a parent who had 3 daughters go through the school, can also give the parent perspective. Maybe that would be Kennedy. Do you mind?
Oh, not at all. Yeah, for sure. So in terms of Sacred Heart, it's a very close-knit, welcoming community. I didn't spend my entire time at Sacred Heart. I actually was at another school beforehand, and then that school closed, so I was very upset. I didn't plan on switching.
What years did you do at Sacred Heart?
I did grade 10 and 11.
Okay.
So it's a kind of a rough time to switch, so obviously I wasn't looking forward to switching, but when I got there, everyone was just so welcoming and friendly, and right off the bat, it felt like home to me. So just having that close-knit environment was fantastic. And in terms, you said your girls are very energetic. There's lots to get involved in at Sacred Heart. There's lots of sports, which I'm sure Miss Newton can speak more about, but then also lots of clubs involving like arts, robotics, like they said in the video. There's something for everyone at the school. And even if there's something that doesn't particularly interest your daughters, like they can start anything they want. I know the school's very open to creating new clubs. I know that since I've graduated, there's been much more that's added, so I can't even imagine what's available for them to try. So it's just a really fun, welcoming environment.
Nice.
Tara, why did you choose Sacred Heart for your 3 girls?
2 girls.
Oh, 2 girls.
Don't push it. Well, Sacred Heart has a long-standing tradition in our family. My mother went to Sacred Heart. My aunt went to Sacred Heart. My sister went to Sacred Heart, and I graduated 35 years ago. And for my girls, it wasn't like I didn't force them to go to Sacred Heart, but it seemed to be a really good fit for who they were. They're sort of, they struggled academically. And I think the small class sizes were appealing from a parent's perspective, because I knew that Villa didn't have sort of the same ratios as Sacred Heart did. And I think because of my history with Sacred Heart, I thought, you know what, let's try it. And it actually ended up being a good fit for both my girls. And I think knowing what to expect from the school, I thought it was a no-brainer, really. We also looked at Trafalgar because I also had friends that were at Trafalgar when I was in high school, and their girls went to Trafalgar as well. So I didn't write off any other school immediately, but I still had very strong connection with Sacred Heart, so it all seemed to make sense. And I think my girls, despite sometimes they would complain about the rules or certain things like that, they're very appreciative that they went to Sacred Heart. And I think, it's a long-standing tradition in our family, and I hope one day my grandgirls will go there. So and I'm still very involved at the school. So it still feels like a real family to me, even though it's 35 years later.
And Jen, what brought you back to Sacred Heart? Like, you graduated in 2006. What made you want to come back and teach in the school that you graduated from?
I loved my 5 years at Sacred Heart. Like Tara said, it was a home, and I enjoyed going to school every day. I enjoyed the friends that I made there, and just the connection with the teachers was huge.
So when the opportunity came up,
Yeah.
for me, it was a dream. And I thought like, oh, I'm too young to go to the school that I've always dreamed of, you know? And then I was very, very grateful when I did get the job. And now this is my 7th year. And I just think that the school population comes from like a wide area of Montreal too. So there's a lot of girls from the West Island, the South Shore, from downtown, from the East End, and it really brings a lot of diversity into the school. And I find that everyone just becomes more open and learning to just get to know like just different parts of the city. And it's very down to earth, but very spirited school. And that's like the two things that made me love it back then and still now.
Oh, that's good.
So I have a bunch of questions that kind of stem off some of those. You referred to the size of the classes. So roughly how many kids, in grade 7 and up through 11
So
per
the
class?
average class size is 17 girls per class, but it ranges from 8 to 22.
Wow.
So as the girls get more towards secondary 3, 4, and 5, there's a lot more electives. So the class sizes actually become smaller based on areas of interest. Most grade levels, we have 2 homerooms. So usually we're around 40 students per grade level, but then we have some years that it could be more. For example, our secondary 5s, we have 74 girls in secondary 5 this year. So we have a big school, and we can adjust to the number of students that we accept annually. So it kind of goes like this, like up and down based on enrollment.
Yeah. Enrollment's been a challenge, I think, for some of the private schools of years of late. One of the questions I wanted to know is, particularly for coming into grade 7, you have kids, and you mentioned that kids that might be coming from all over the island, from all sorts of different educational backgrounds, and even cultural and language backgrounds. And particularly given the context of COVID these days. So we've had a year last year where the kids, and at least in the public sector, were short 3 months of the curriculum. And, my kids are in public school, they're trying to kind of catch up. Who knows how this year may go, and also my, next year, honestly. I don't mean to be too negative, but it's quite foreseeable that, the year after will also be affected by the pandemic. So how does your school manage these kids coming in from such different backgrounds and kind of, mesh that, help them to catch up? How do you support this?
So everybody in the province of Quebec and probably Canada-wide would most likely be affected by this. Our school went online immediately when the pandemic hit. So 4 days a week, the girls were online as of the 3rd week of March, right after our March break. So because we're using Google Apps for Education, the girls are connected through their Google Classrooms with their teachers that way. And then we're using Google Meets. So that they were still having synchronous learning 4 days a week, and then a work day on Mondays to give the girls time to do the assignments, as well as the teachers to prep for the oncoming classes from Tuesday to Friday. As well, we asked each of our departments how to do a toolkit for what subjects, like what topics would they need depending on what grade they were entering, because at Sacred Heart, we have girls that transfer from grade 7 to grade 11 annually. So we did a toolkit based on each grade for the girls that were transferring from public schools particularly, or bigger private schools that did not go online. So we have a toolkit that we use, and then basically we use the first 2 months as review and try to play catch up, particularly for the grade 7 students that entered that did not have a full year of grade 6. So because we're a small school and having 17 students in a classroom, the teachers can concentrate more and do a lot more individualized teaching. But we also have Math Cafe 2 times a week after school, or French Bistro, English Nook, all these different academic supports after school. We also have an online tutoring. It used to be called Grade Slam, but now it's moved to Papers. It's 24/7 online tutoring that our girls have access to. Our teachers can also monitor the questions that the girls have. So say 6 girls out of a class of 17 have the same question on one particular subject, then the teacher knows that they might need to review that subject matter because a number of the students have it. They also have office hours where they can go and meet with the teacher, whether it's virtually or done in person. So there's a lot of support, I think, at the school. Jen, did I miss anything? Or Tara, I know your daughters use a lot of the support systems as well.
I was just gonna add that the teachers, we speak very often about how we can help each of the classes, because we find each class, even if it's the same grade, each class has very different needs. And so all the teachers come together very often and brainstorm how we can help a specific class. Like right now, one of the Sec 1 classes, we find that they're struggling with the different online platforms, like Google Classroom and Koba. So we've found time where certain teachers will address what we think their needs are. So we really, like we've said, we're a small enough school and we really collaborate a lot and talk about how we can help our students and the specific classes the most we can.
Yeah, I would say as well that if your child is struggling in any subject, the teachers are available at any hour of the day almost. I've written many emails asking about, you know, a history assignment or a test mark or whatever, and they're always within about an hour they answer back, and it's like, you want to say, don't you have a life?
You're dedicated.
They're amazing.
Yeah. Okay, that's great, because that sounds to also like the teachers are close enough to the kids to not let anyone fall in the cracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're 230 students in the whole school, and everybody knows everybody. And we really try to build up those relationships between the teacher and the students, because they are the expert. They are the one who knows what to expect in the assignment, what they're looking for from the students. So it's really developing those. So I always tell the girls during orientation, don't be scared. If you're too scared or too shy to raise your hand, stay back for a couple minutes, ask when you can meet the teacher one-on-one to go over that material. And the teachers are super receptive. They love when the girls come to them directly. And that's where we always are trying to concentrate our energies to get them to do that and build those relationships, because they are the ones that can help them the most. But of course we have additional support systems if need be, but it's really about building relationships with your teachers. And you as a parent, you'll have access to the COBA portal, which will give you a breakdown of each term, each subject, and what assignments, tests, and everything, and how much each are weighted. So if your daughter has a history assignment that's worth 5%, but a math exam that's worth 25%, you know where to concentrate your energy a little bit more on.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to keep on going? I don't know if Josie wants to jump in, but I'll keep on. I've got a whole bunch of things. Okay, French programs. My kids are, you know, have an Anglophone mom, so they're speaking mostly English. I have Francophone dad. We would like them to be fairly functionally bilingual by the end of high school rather. So what's your French program like?
So we have 4 levels of French, from French for beginners all the way to langue d'enseignement, which is the French course that the high school students in the province of Quebec get. So it's mother tongue French. And then we have 2 second language, basic second language and enriched second language. So the top 2 levels of French, the students actually do their history and their geography for secondary 1 and 2 in French, as well as art is taught in French for those 2 levels as well.
Okay. So how does that work? Like they come, you know, kids come into grade 7, you assess their French level, they get slotted into the 1 to 4 system, you know, but can they keep on migrating up? You know, if their French keeps on developing and getting stronger, they can end up with the la langue maternelle at the end?
Yeah, so we do a placement test in the spring for math and French, because we have 4 levels of French and then 2 math levels, the regular program and the accelerated. The accelerated program happens in grade 8. they do grade 8 and 9 math. So they do Cal 1 from CEGEP in secondary 5.
I remember that course.
So we do that in the spring because our entrance tests are done primarily in October. So they've barely stepped foot in grade 6. They also have back to school blues maybe a little bit and haven't touched all the subject matter over the course of the summer and then coming back in. So we let them progress over the course of grade 6, and we've actually seen a big difference from when we test them in the fall to the spring, particularly in French. So the girls maybe would have scored in langue seconde de base, but then by the end of grade 6, they're in the second language enriched. So, and then of course, like to answer your other question, the girls can move up and down partway through the year. So if we see the girls are really progressing rapidly, then they can go up to the next level, absolutely. Or if they find like it's too hard and it works the same way, they can come down a level.
Perfect. Okay. Jumping over to kind of the admission side. I was interested when I went to the Villa open house last year. They were talking about in grade 5, you can have a conditional acceptance if your marks are good. And then of course, you know, you have to maintain your marks, but do you do anything like that, or you only do admission in grade 6?
We really only do it in grade 6 because we feel that there's so much pressure out there that the French school, really that's Villa's going on the French schools because they're competing primarily with the French private schools, and they have such an influx of students. They're taking from the Anglophone population, the Francophone population, and the Allophone population. So they're really tapping into 3 populations, whereas we require the certificate of eligibility. So we're really only tapping into 1 population. And we really don't want to stress the girls out. We already feel that in the fall of grade 6 is very stressful enough that to even put the pressure on in the spring of grade 5 and have them having to think about 2 years down the road is a lot.
Okay. Let's see, what else did I want to know? Tara, you mentioned sort of parental involvement in the school. You know, can you talk a little bit about like what that's like?
You can be there as much as you want or as little as you want. When I first came back to Sacred Heart, when my eldest started, I joined the Parents Guild. And for 5 years, I sort of stayed there. They have monthly meetings and they host a bunch of activities throughout the year, basically to support, you know, either the faculty or the school. And they also do a bit of fundraising that goes back to the school. So by the end of it, I became the president of the Parents Guild, which I absolutely loved. And I was kind of sad when my youngest was graduating because I was going to be at a loss of what to do with myself. But I then joined the alumni board and I'm still part of that. So, you know what, that's the nice thing about Sacred is that you can really be as involved as you want to be. Some schools, like some of my friends, they don't want to, they're sort of, I guess the school doesn't want the parents to be there at that point and during high school because they feel, you know, it's, I guess it's just too much, but Sacred Heart is definitely very welcoming with parents. And I think that's what makes, for me with the experience was getting to know the parents of my daughter's friends and also, you know, seeing the school in action. Even though some things haven't really changed since I was there 35 years ago, but it's really nice. And it's still a big part of even my girls, you know, we can share a lot of discussions about the school and they even share things like with my mom about what she went through when she was a girl there at school. So it's, in that way, it hasn't changed. So if you want to join the Parents Guild, sign up.
Okay, we'll see when we get there. Let's see. This one's maybe a good question for you, Jen. I'm just wondering, because I don't know the school property behind the building. It's hard to tell when you drive by. Like, what kind of grounds do you have for like outdoor activities, sports and stuff?
So our indoor facilities are fantastic. Like we do have a very large gym. In terms of outdoors, we don't have anything too close. We have a little bit of a grassy area. It's better for more of like a classroom to go outside. It's not a big enough space to really run around that much. What I have done this year is I've brought my classes up to Mount Royal. It's only about a 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
And then we'll either do an activity there or I'll take them to the lookout and then I'll bring them back. For sports, we've rented out the reservoir at McGill.
Mhm.
We've also rented out the green space below us, which now belongs to Centennial, so we should be able to rent that out again. And then we do our soccer and our football home games at Kent Park, which is about a 15-minute drive, but we do have an activity bus, which makes that pretty easy to get to and from places. And then for other sports like swimming, there's a pool that's about 15 minutes again that we drive to, and they do their practices and meets there.
Okay. Great. What else did I have to ask?
And don't forget, we're building a wellness center.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. What's that? Tell me about that. That sounds good.
Jen, you're
Yeah.
up.
Okay, so I was actually supposed to be done by September, but sadly with COVID and the construction delays because of it, it has not been started yet, but we've met with architects multiple times and designers, and what it will look like, because I'm part of the planning, which has been a super exciting new part of my job, is that there will be like a fitness area. So we'll have some cardio machines, but also a lot of like TRX and a punching bag and some battle ropes and some areas to do like body weight exercises. We're also going to have a health classroom. So we can talk about nutrition there, mental health, things like that. And there will also be a dance studio as well. So our building is large enough that we have the space within it to create this very large health and wellness center.
That sounds awesome.
Yes.
Very fun. Let's see what I wanted. Okay. You're a Catholic school?
Yes. So 70% of our students are Catholic and 30% are not.
Okay. So my kids are Catholic, perhaps not so educated in that respect. So is there opportunity within the schools to learn more about that?
Yes. So Quebec has a course called Ethics and Religious Studies, which is across the province in all high schools. So in each grade, they have the course. Obviously, because Sacred Heart is part of a worldwide network of 151 schools in 40 countries, we are all held together with 5 goals, and we instill these 5 goals within all of our grade levels. We have about 10 mandatory masses per year that are held in the chapel when it's not the pandemic. So they have the 10 masses. So usually it's around like major holidays like Remembrance Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving. Also in celebration of our foundress, Sophie Madeline Barrett. So we have Founders Day and things like that. So,
also, I think Kennedy was our service prefect, right? Is that where you were going? I wanted to make sure she's a great person. Sorry.
Yeah. Do you want me to speak? Sorry, I didn't want to cut anyone off.
Explain what that means, the service prefect first, and then you can talk about what that meant.
Yeah, absolutely. So within the student council, there's a position called service coordinator, and essentially that position provides students with that student with the opportunity to kind of work more with the religion department in terms of preparations for mass or any sort of religious holiday, for example, like Easter, if we do anything around Easter or Christmas time. I know we do Christmas baskets, stuff like that, so just organizing for that. And then it also provides that student with the opportunity to help run some of the charitable initiatives that the school does. I know Sacred is very involved in the community and giving back, which is a nice bonus. Not as many schools are as involved in that aspect, which is, I enjoyed it. That was one of my favorite parts of my position on student council, just from Girls for the Cure to Community Service Day, doing your community service hours. It was just a wonderful experience that you got to see that like the school doesn't just care about you, it also cares about the community around it. So it instills that in the students as well to give back.
Great. I'll just ask this because this is something that we're looking at anyway. You don't actually do confirmations, do you?
No, unfortunately, no.
Okay, just curious. That would, then we could just wait. Okay. What else did I want to ask? Let's see. We covered a lot of the things already, which is good. Oh, second, I'm just gonna close the door. One of my girls was diagnosed with, it's a mild form of ADD, but she's a dreamer, a little bit of a dreamer. Smart, very, very smart on some fronts, and then also has some like a little bit lower on cognitive processing speed and stuff like that. So we're just starting with that, and we're working with her at the Montreal Fluency Center to just sort of see if it's a question of catching up some of it because she's been in a French immersion program, or if there's like some issues. My question is, what do you have in terms of enrichment services? Do you take kids who need individual education plans if we need that? Like, what are the opportunities in terms of support for that?
So we have a number of students that have different needs. So we look on an individual basis. So we usually ask parents to send us the assessment with the IEP so that our academic advisor and student service team can review it and ensure that every service that your daughter requires to be successful, that we can host it at Sacred Heart. Usually for mild cases, it's extra time for exams or in a quiet room. But we also offer scribes and readers depending on the severity and what the IEP is asking for to help the students. So we have about 20% of our students that are on an IEP.
Oh yeah, wow. Is that kind of an average amount for high school?
I think it's becoming more, we're seeing it more and more as the girls, I don't know if it's like a modern day thing and that diagnosis, there's no more taboos and that people are seeking out those services, and or that because we are more aware that these are the reality that students are living in. But I also think that parents are choosing Sacred Heart as well because of the small class sizes, the all girls, and then when you have maybe a mild learning difference, then you have more resources at your fingertips with the small class sizes and less distractions and things like that. So that could also be going with it as well.
Do you actually have like an enrichment program per se, or resource teachers? Like it gets called different things in different schools. Or is it just sort of accommodations like you were mentioning about, longer time for tests or things like that?
So we don't modify our program. We have accommodations more so than an enrichment. Like each student has to follow the regular curriculum. It's not that you can do grade 6 math while you're in grade 7 or something, or grade 7 math while you're in grade 8. Like in the bigger high schools, you can sometimes do that if you fail a subject or something like that. There's no modification of the program. You still have to follow the regular curriculum. But I think that there's ways around it. I'm not a super specialist in this area, but I'd be happy to give your email or provide you with an email address to Miss Tula or Anika Maloney, our director of academics, that knows a lot more about our assessment policy and everything like that.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if we need, to that level. Like I say, we're just, it was something that was sort of, I had a sense in the last couple of years that there was a little something going on because my daughter was getting more aversive to doing the work. But also this year she has 2 young, super enthusiastic teachers and she's loving it. So, you know, like a lot of that counts too, right?
For sure.
Can you motivate the child? Can you make,
Motivation, for sure.
yeah, you know, because she's enjoying it. She wants to please. And she's very bright. I think before she was just very frustrated. So she may not actually need, you know, too much accommodation, and we'll know, you know, as time goes by. But obviously the demands increase as you start getting into high school. And so anyway,